The single most important skill or the mindset or a talent a child is supposed to have to succeed in life is the ability to learn. A lot of people are flooded with a lot of information. A lot of people can actually find opportunities where people, things, institutions, and media are ready to teach. But if a person doesn't know how to learn, the person fails. The ability to learn from anything and everything at any given point of time, anywhere, is the most appreciable talent that one can actually have. It need not be understood as a talent. It is just a mindset. It is a faculty that can be developed from what you already have inherently in you, because you don't have to bring it out in a special way. It is there in every human being. It is there in animals too, birds too, insects too. But in human beings, it's a little advanced because we don't just do it for survival. We do it for many other reasons too. We do it for some assumed challenges or demands or situations required for survival, which may not actually be true, but still we do it. We can confuse ourselves, we can convince ourselves, we can cooperate with ourselves, we can really better ourselves, we can create challenges for ourselves, and for all that, we should be able to learn. And to be able to learn, to be able to become better, is something that a human being can convince himself or herself. It is not challenging what is widely accepted, but I think there is a big myth that children have to go to school. Even children of people who are extremely privileged, even if they are not sending children to schools, they have something called homeschool, because people believe that children have to be schooled. I think the whole myth of a school, from what it was in the medieval times to what it is today, the thing is about, a child can actually learn better in an environment of schooling or in a system of schooling is completely, illogical as it appears to me. Schooling is different from learning. Learning can happen even without going to school. And I've been quoting this example of this young child in the Puranas who actually goes to a guru, and the guru asks him to graze cattle and come back. And when he comes back, he is an enlightened person because he would have learned from literally everything. The rivers, the thunder, the mountains, the cattle. That is when you really want to learn. You don't have to learn about trees and plants from your textbook. You can learn by walking in the garden, walking through the forest. Though it is all very romantic these days because, it is only like, some people can do that, and the privileged few can actually have that kind of pleasures of learning from everything or from the worldwide open. But I feel that everybody should be able to learn, because when you decide to learn, nothing can stop you from learning from it. You can learn from the people around you, you can learn from the society, you can learn from your family, you can learn from your family situations, you can learn from parties, you can learn from your friends on the street, you can learn from your cat, your pet, from the way the water flows in the drainage system in front of your house, to how the rain falls onto the ground, to how the hailstones hit onto the the floor in the balcony, to everything. You can learn so much. And to be able to learn like that is a beauty in itself. A lot of parents keep saying that, of course, we're just happy with the way the child is growing up. A lot of parents are okay with the way the child comes up in terms of education. There are very few parents who want their children to do extremely well, and that's not actually possible for every parent. You know very well, in a class there are very few students who actually score more than about 96 to 98%. In fact, I feel that about 70 to 80% of students who go to schools don't even score 70%. even if they get 70% in a controlled kind of an atmosphere, learning system where the exam is completely favorable to the kind of learning they may have actually done. If you have a general examination which is not very favorable to and not very aligned to what they would have learned, they certainly may not be able to do that well. So when you have 20% students who do extremely well in schooling system, to be able to say that the other children have to live up to those 20% people who may become engineers or doctors or scientists, whereas for every other field you don't need 80% marks at all. You need other skills, and that's what everybody is looking for. So nowadays a lot of parents have reconciled to the fact that children need not be so good in studies as long as they have actually learnt a lot of other things, like they have some good social skills, they have some human values, they are sensitive, they have a fairly appreciable emotional quotient, and they are growing up as good people. I think that's what parents look for. Recently, I was listening to this conversation between two ladies, and one of the ladies asked the other person, how much her son had scored, and she was proudly saying that she was glad to say that her son scored not more than 56%, and she was happy that he passed, and he's a good child, and that's all that he could score. So what is wrong with it? How much can you push someone to score more when, first of all, he doesn't want to, or he is not suited to that education? And there is nothing great in actually scoring so much. There's nothing wrong in students who score even 100% marks. But what about students who can't score that kind of marks? I think you should just look for them to put in fields that don't require that kind of marks at all. I've seen in my life people who have not done very well in school at all, even in colleges, but they've gone into IT and done extremely well. Perhaps the math that they learnt in school or in colleges or maybe even science was not the kind of math or science they were using in the field that they chose. That was basically data science, or maybe analytics, or maybe web development, or a programmer or something like that. So you don't have to be like everybody else. So the big problem is that the demand, but I think most parents have woken up to the fact that they need not adhere to the norms that are instilled or imposed in the system to expect literally every child to do extremely well. Most schools these days, particularly the hoity-toity schools, are entertainment centers. Some of the schools produce individuals who are like they know everything, but primarily that they are morally spineless. They may have very strong opinions, but they're even afraid of expressing it. And that's not the kind of individuals even those children's parents want them to be. So I think the kind of schools that offer all kinds of things, like even some schools saying that we do character building. So character building is not according to what the school wants as a character in those students. So how do you decide what kind of a character that the child should? Character is something that's inalienable to a person's personality. That has so much to do with a person's background, cultural setting, legacy, and spiritual, influence, so many things. So each person's character is extremely different. So how can a school say that we are going to do character building? In the sense, like the British officers, at least when they were in service, they were of a certain kind. So that doesn't do much with character at all. That's just professional training.